you would think that I would have all of this kind of stuff figured out by now, but I don't. All right guys, so in this video, we're talking about some pretty adult stuff, life insurance. And I know it's not always the most riveting conversation, but this is a conversation that you need to have. And if you're a stepmom or co-parenting or in a blended family, you're gonna wanna listen up. Have you ever had the conversation with your partner about why the heck his ex is a beneficiary to one of his life insurance policies? Or is she one of the beneficiaries to a life insurance policy? Or have you had that really tough conversation with your spouse about what would happen if something happened to both of you? How would you divide up your estate and the life insurance policies amongst the kids, especially when you have an ours baby? These are tough conversations that you need to have, and just another example of how when you're in a blended family, everything is just a little more complicated. Now, I'm about to get myself a coffee and we're gonna sit down and we're gonna have a chat about this. All right, so do you ever think about just how much the people in your life depend on you? Like your children and your stepchildren, your husband? Or do you ever think about what would happen to your family if something happened to your husband? As you guys know, I have 3 stepkids. So I think a lot about what would happen to my relationship with them if something happened to my husband. We have a week on, week off schedule with the kids. So both my daughter and I, we look forward to the kids coming every other week. It's part of our everyday life. Would they come visit still? Would we still get the access? Would they still be part of our life? Like, as a stepmom, I have no legal rights to my stepchildren. So my mind goes there all the time. And as much as it's kind of morbid to think about those worst case scenarios, as adults with little people who depend on us all the time, they're really important conversations to have. Okay, so life insurance policies help take care of the people in your life and all of the people who are depending on you if, God forbid, something were to happen to you. It fills the financial void that would be left if something happened to you. For example, like for me, my husband would absolutely need to hire someone to help with the kids. He works long hours, has a demanding job, and he just does not have the flexibility to be there for the snow days and the after school pickup and the drop off and all of that stuff. We 100% would need to have someone come in to help him. All right, guys, now let's talk about child support and the ex and life insurance. Here's the question. Does your husband have a policy that his ex is the beneficiary of? If so, do you wonder why that is in place? I know that there are so many people who cringe at the fact that their ex benefiting from their death or from a life insurance policy. But if you really think about it, it's necessary because they're the ones who are going to be taking care of your children. Even though you're no longer married, it's important to remember that you guys are still a team. You guys are still raising these kids up and you're both responsible for them no matter what happens. Now, when you're thinking about life insurance and the ex, ask yourself, would the ex be able to maintain your children's current lifestyle if something were to happen to you? Do you pay her child support every month? Do you contribute financially? What would happen if something happened to you? There are a lot of separation agreements and legal agreements between people who were previously married and have children together that stipulate that they need to have life insurance policies on each other. But if you don't, this is something that you might want to think about. All right, so now do you want to know where things get really tricky? Is having a conversation with your spouse about the beneficiaries for your life insurance policies when you have kids from previous marriages who have other parents and an ours baby. It gets really complicated. Okay, so the question is like, how do you navigate this? How do you make sure that it feels fair to everyone while still making sure that kids from different circumstances are going to be okay? Look guys, there's no one size fits all approach to this, and it is a really hard conversation to have. But here are some things that I think that you should think about when you are deciding what percentage of your life insurance claim all of your children get. Look at it this way. So say something happened to my husband and I. My daughter, or our daughter, wouldn't have any parents left. She wouldn't have anyone left to care for her. She would have to go to the guardians that we've decided will have her. Now, my stepchildren, on the other hand, they would still have a mother who would be there to financially provide for them, who again, has that life insurance policy where she's the beneficiary of, and so they still have that family, and chances are will be the beneficiary to some of her policies as well. Right now, in our everyday life, they get support from both of our houses. So she's providing for them and we are providing for them. But our daughter only gets support from us. So did you catch what I'm saying here? If something were to happen to us, my daughter and my stepchildren would have a very different circumstance. Ooh, see what I mean when I say it's a tricky conversation? It's one of those situations where I think it's important to remember that sometimes fair doesn't mean equal. All right, guys, so here's the deal. It's actually not even that expensive. That's what people don't understand. So you can tailor your life insurance policy to your age, to your budget. Like, you can make a policy that works best for you. And speaking of age, just so you know, the earlier you get your life insurance policy in place, the cheaper it is. So it's not something that you want to wait around on. All right, so I have this stat on my computer that I want to share with you here. So, for example, it would cost approximately $18 a month for a 35-year-old female who's a non-smoker to get $500,000 worth of coverage. So that's $500,000 for the people in her life if something were to happen to her. Like, if you think about that, that's like a bottle of wine, depending on your taste. Like, that's a good bottle of wine. It's not that expensive. As you guys know, RBC is a huge part of our everyday life, and they just introduced this new thing called Simplified Term life insurance, and it's up to $1 million. And they're the first to offer this, which is pretty cool. So now Canadians can be approved for up to $1 million after just like completing a 15-minute application. And I'm gonna link it below or above so that you guys can click over and take the survey. All right, so if you don't have life insurance, I strongly recommend that you just go take that survey. It won't take long at all. And you know what? It will leave your family protected and like you feel confident that everyone is going to be okay if something were to happen to you. And if you do have life insurance already, here is a little reminder to check in and ensure that that policy is still meeting your needs. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I will talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.